Okay, we're up on pre-show. Today we're going to have Rebecca Gills from Michigan, and she's in the bunker. Jonathan, we're here. We'll do the intro for the podcast. We'll work on that. But welcome, Rebecca. It's good to see you
Thanks
again.
so much for having me.
We're a little slow start today. We're back on Skype away from Blab because Blab is blabbing out. Love Blab. Blab speeds things up, and it's great when you start. But if you want to really this quality, we got to go back into Skype. So with that, Jonathan, do you want to lead off?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, a couple seconds of silence. Go ahead.
Oh, hi, Rebecca. We got Rebecca Gills from Web Savvy Marketing joining us again. Thanks for agreeing to come on the show, Rebecca.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.
So let's really go into it. So let's go into the evil, the dark side. Some people feel SEO, but it's so important if you want to get results. And Rebecca's done a fantastic online course that must have taken quite a while to do. How long did it actually take you to produce your fantastic course, Rebecca?
It took me 2 months to create it, although I had a lot of the content that I had already written. So I was basically repurposing in the course, and then I was filling in all the gaps. But it was 2 months of any free time I had during the day with work, and then nights and weekends to get it knocked out, because it is 8 hours of education between written tutorials and videos and quizzes and things.
Yeah, I've been delving into it, not as much as because I actually purchased Rebecca's course and it's fantastic. I would highly recommend it. I think its great strength is it gives a real roadmap, and it pointed out to me some of the things that I hadn't really concentrated on. So I'll give you full marks, Rebecca. It's a fantastic course.
Thank you. It's good to hear.
So what are your plans for you? Is it going to grow? Are you going to add new bits, new videos? What are your plans for the course this year?
So the course is at this point, I think it's 85 lesson topics that are broken up between about 7 groups. So the core course is done, although because SEO is changing all the time, it will need to be updated, this year and next year. But I am going in this month and adding on industry. So like industry add-ons for it. So for example, one thing in the course is you have homework, right? It's not just you're going to read the course or watch some videos and call it good. You actually have to go do homework in it so that you can apply what you're learning to your website or blog. But certain industries, I can do the homework for them, and I'm going to offer that as an add-on to the course, so I can kind of get them started with their keyword seed list, solid site maps and things like that, to kind of push them in the right direction and save them some time and it's particularly geared towards small business owners in certain niche markets.
Oh, that sounds really fantastic, Rebecca. So many people forget, Rebecca, that you can have a lovely looking website and a fantastic product, but if nobody knows about it, it's not really going to work out, is it, Rebecca?
Exactly. It's websites are not build it and they will come. I mean, you have to market it one way or another, whether you're paying pay-per-click or SEO, or social media or email marketing. There's got to be some means to get people into that website to make it drive revenue or, whatever type of conversions that you're looking for.
So let's delve in, Rebecca. Let's go in deep here. So we're about WordPress. We're WordPress junkies. You've made a good living from WordPress, so I'm doing okay. So you've got a WordPress website. Let's say, where should we go with this? Shall we go local or should we go regional? Should we start off with, Rebecca?
It really depends on where your target market is. You have different SEO tactics between local, national, and international. And that's some of the things that we do address in the course. There's sections for local SEO versus international. The course on a whole is designed for national.
Right.
So
let's go
yeah,
national, and then we might talk. And then we might talk a little bit about local. How does that sound, Rebecca?
That's perfect.
So we've got a WordPress product, service, idea, and we want to market it, and we're in WordPress, so we've got to have a really lovely WordPress website. Let's say, let's take it for granted it looks great, or we got somebody to build it for us, so it looks great. What should have we done from day one when it came to SEO, Rebecca?
So if for SEO to work the best, I mean, it doesn't always have to follow this plan, but for it to work the best, you start SEO before you actually go into design. right? And you start looking at your target market, their pain points, their challenges, and you start developing a seed list of potential focus keywords. You do competitive research, and then you utilize that seed list to find search volumes, competition, and you start then narrowing down your seed list of keywords to phrases you actually want to focus in. And then those phrases need to be weaved into your sitemap. And you really need to have a good sitemap before you can do really effective web design. And a lot of people skip that and they do it after the fact, which can work. It's just more challenging. It's more cumbersome for them, and they'll end up reworking things. So we encourage people to do it at the beginning. And, whether I'm doing a webinar or it's the course, I always try to reinforce that idea. That's the easiest way to do it. And if you can't, you can. You already have your website, then you're going to backtrack and you're just going to fix the things that you want to fix. But, the big thing is don't forget about the strategy, because the strategy is, and the planning is critical for SEO to work.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Because that's the hardest thing. On reflection, I didn't do it, and I am doing it to some extent, or now in the next couple of weeks. I've sorted out quite a few other things that is covered by your course. But can you go into a bit detail about how you do what you've just outlined?
Yeah. So, like one of the sections in the course at the very beginning is free tools, right? What kind of tools can you use in the internet to do some competitive research, find out what your competition is doing, whether it be looking at the source code or running some reports and, using some third-party tools. That's the first step, right? It's because it's one thing to look at yourself, but it's another thing to look at your competition and see really what they're doing. And it can do one of two things. It's either going to make you a little bit depressed because you're going to say, wow, they're doing so much better job than I am. I got to do better. Or you're going to look at them and go, holy crap, their SEO sucks. I can do this, right? And, I can beat them. And the funny thing about WordPress is a lot of WordPress websites and WordPress developers don't use any SEO. So if you're in WordPress and you're competing against them, you're going to have the second case where you're like, they don't have any SEO going on. I can do this. I can really, capture some organic traffic just by, implementing good SEO strategies. So that's the first step, is that there's a lot of research, and some of it is mind numbing. There is no question about it. Especially if you're going to be digging into your own analytics and your own data within Google Search Console to see, where you're currently ranking and what could you improve on, and what's a good fit for you, and that type of thing. It is a mind-numbing task. However, it's so beneficial because it's going to set the foundation for everything that you do moving forward. And that's that strategy and that data digging that a lot of people miss, and that sets you apart from your competition when you implement it.
I think that's great. I think we could ask you one quick question before we go to our break, Rebecca, because it is a big subject. Let's focus on Google's console. It used to be called Webmaster Tools, didn't it? And then in the great Google tradition, they renamed it. None of us understand why, because console doesn't really tell you anything, really, does it? So what are the key things? Let's concentrate, because we only got a limited period of time here. Can we go in a couple of things? Just do one before the break and then we come back. But let's start with the console. What are some of the key things you got to know about the console that will help you with your SEO?
The search analytics, I think it's the search analysis or search analytics is when you come into Search Console, you're going to see three boxes. It's the middle one. And if you go in there and start checking the options, you have so much data there that people never even utilize. It's what happens on your website inside Google and not on your actual website. So you can see where you're showing up in search, and it never even shows up in Google Analytics. It's so powerful.
Well, that sounds really great, Rebecca. So we're going to talk a bit more about that after we come back from the break, folks.
FYI, we're on a break, but we're still recording on Call Recorder. Now, eventually, I'll probably edit this part of the YouTube out, but right now, maybe not. But this has been edited out of the podcast. And we actually put in a break, the WP-Tonic commercial, which really helps. Those commercials really the call to actions is a better way to measure a podcast, I think, how many people really do something. So on the break, I'd like to come back, Jonathan, and just talk about the life and success principles. And I broke them down to even smaller. Do the right thing. Focus on what you're good at.
Can I?
Yeah, you can go first, but decision based on data. You go first, and then pass it over to me.
We just talk some general things about, and then we go into your line principles.
And the reason why we can do this, then I can use this on a timelines, which is another RSS feed, and you get double the numbers, which is good. And I'll probably WP-Tonic will go up Saturday. I'm not sure when this episode will go up. It used to go up right away. But we'll do it on Saturday because we're going to do the blab, aren't we? Right. WP-Tonic will go up Saturday. We're still going to do the blab. Yeah. But okay. But the timelines may be stacked. So because
you don't fancy joining us for the crazy blab on Saturday at 10 o'clock, Rebecca.
Blabs are good. Hey, let's give a couple seconds of silence, and then come back, Jonathan, when you're ready.
Well, we're back, folks. So we're going to delve into this console, this Google console. So it's the middle of the three that we got to look at. So what are some of the things in that middle part that we got to really understand and monitor, Rebecca?
So that section of Google's tool will show you your top keywords, and it can give you up to, I think it is 999 keywords, and it's where you're showing in Google search. It can also show you top pages. So it's another way to look at the data, and you can attribute pages to those top keywords. You'll see your ranking. So, where actually you rank in Google, and it'll give you an average. You'll see incoming traffic to the website. You'll see impressions. So how many times do you show up in a search that someone may or may not click on you? And then it gives you a click-through rate. So that will show you what is working on the website from a search standpoint with organic SEO, but it also shows you all of those opportunities where you can make improvements, whether you're adding new content or it's low-hanging fruit where you're maybe on page 2 of Google and you just need to enhance that content and push yourself up to page 1 so you can actually get a lot of click-throughs. It's great, a tool for finding good ideas for blog posts, right? Because there's a lot of phrases that Google already likes your website for, but you're not ranking well enough on to get traffic from. And those ideas make great blog posts. So, there's so many good benefits from it. And it's one of the starting places that I always use both with my own website as well as client websites for research for SEO purposes.
That sounds great. So of those things you pointed out, when you're helping a client, because Rebecca does help, I am correct in saying that you do help some clients with this on a...
We do, yep.
Yeah. So when you're looking at that, what do you normally see when you're dealing with a client? What are the things you focus on first? Or does it go by client, or are there normally some things that you straight away know that from previous experience that you should be looking at straight away?
Well, we do SEO engagements with clients that usually take about 4 to 6 weeks. And the process follows the exact same process that we have in the course, right? So we're going to start with pulling their existing data from the Google Search Console, analytics, their website. We do an analysis of their website. And then, we're doing that competitive knowledge or competitive research with the competition and doing additional generation of seedless. But so it's the same process. We start with that data within search analytics because it provides such a great foundation of what Google views their website at currently, as well as what long-term goals we can have, and then what short-term low-hanging fruit we can make quick improvements on. And we utilize that data within the keyword selection process as well as the site mapping. And that's what we recommend people to do in the course. It's, it's the exact same flow I'm taking you through. And I specifically say in the first lesson, please do not skip ahead. I know you're going to want to skip like the first 2 lessons, which is all this research and this mapping, but don't do it because you'll get confused later on and you get frustrated because you really need that foundation of those first 2 lessons.
So I think to recap, what you think is you really got to understand the fundamentals of Google Console. You got to understand the fundamentals, which you get through your course, the fundamentals of keyword research.
Yes,
and
critical.
if you combined that knowledge that you got to get, you're going to be starting on a much stronger platform than the majority of people. Would that be a good summary?
Absolutely. And the reason is because you're making decisions based on data, right? The data doesn't lie. The data can be a little bit off sometimes in Google, and you just got to take that with a grain of salt. But the data provides you the ability to make solid decisions. And it's not just what you want or what you think, it's proven information that you can utilize to make really good strategic decisions. And a lot of people with SEO, they do tactical things. Like they want quick turnarounds and they just want to do a quick thing here, quick load a WordPress plugin and think that's going to take care of everything. But they forget all that strategy and that, and using good data to make good decisions. And that's what, something that Google Search Console allows you to do, or provides a mechanism for you to have information to, move forward with that strategy.
Yeah, to be honest though, Rebecca, when it comes to, you've got your key landing pages and you've got your, I call them a silo page, and then you're going to build other pages around it. I've been knocking around SEO and WordPress for a few years, but I realized that I kind of drifted away by reading your course. And that's what I've been working on for the past 2 to 3 weeks, plus doing everything else. And it's been a bit of a slog. So you did mention about installing a plugin, and I don't want to just pick on anybody, but it is the leader, Yoast SEO. So you install it and you want to get green all the time. What can go wrong by pursuing the green, Rebecca?
Well, here's a great example. So Yoast has a feature for the focus keyword. People will throw anything in that, whether it's super long that has no search volume whatsoever, or something that's so broad like risk, right? I saw that recently with a client site. They put risk as the focus keyword. You don't know if that's financial risk, security risk, physical risk, health risk. I mean, it's not focused enough for the search engines to say that content is about something, right? It's just way too broad. And I think that's the fear of using that green light, because it can give you a very false sense of security where you think that you're doing awesome and you're not. You don't even have clear enough focus so that the search engines know what that post is about, or that page. So I think that I think Yoast and All-in-One SEO are very good SEO plugins to use, but you have to do your own education, your own research, and apply that to the plugin, and just not rely on the plugin, because the plugin can't do everything for you.
Oh, thanks for that, Rebecca. We're going to go for a break, and then my co-host...
No, we're not going for break.
Oh, right.
There's a second break.
The voice of God, folks.
I can take that out of the podcast, but it'll be in the... Just Jonathan, just say, okay, Bill, why don't you take it over and talk about life and success principles?
Oh, right, yeah, sure, right, yeah. So thanks for that, Rebecca. So, Bill, why don't you take over and ask some of the Rebecca's life principles for her successful life in the bunker, Bill?
Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Rebecca. In timelines, I've got good feedback from folks who have listened to WP-Tonic. We started to put those up on both on WP-Tonic and on timelines. And people really like the episodes. People who haven't listened to this detail of WordPress, who maybe are not WordPress experts, but they still want to find out about you and your background, their business, and how you got into that business. So how did you get into your business, and how did you start your current company, which is Web Savvy Marketing?
Yes, I started Web Savvy 7 years ago, and I fell into it. I had no desire to be an entrepreneur and run an agency. I just needed to exit my job, and it was in the middle of the recession. I had been at my company for a really long time, and it was time to exit, and there just were not jobs available. So, my husband and I made the decision to leave, and I was going to do SEO consulting. But then I realized that nobody could touch their own websites because it was all HTML based. So I started teaching myself WordPress, and then I combined that SEO and WordPress, and that kind of just grew the agency over the last 7 years. And we've had, different service offerings, and, just try to be diverse.
Very good. That's a really good explanation. In that 7 years, we find that after 2 or 3 years, if you survive that first 2 or 3 years, usually you figure it out by then. Was there a point where you became successful, or you felt confident that you're going to succeed?
It's funny because when I started I just didn't want to lose my house, right? I just wanted to be able to
rough time.
Keep paying the mortgage payment. And then all of a sudden, it had grown so far that I started to have to hire people. And I kind of looked around and went, wow, this was so not what I expected, right? And then, you show up at a WordCamp and you go to speak, and after you get done, you have all these people waiting to talk to you because they know you from the internet, and they're really excited to meet you in person. And then that's kind of really wow, I've come a long way in the last few years.
Yep.
And I think that's those milestones that you don't see coming until they're there and they hit you in the face, and you're like, wow, we've come a long way.
That's a good story. And I'll tell you what, WordCamp, you mentioned something called WordCamp. For the timeliners, even if you don't know WordPress that well, if there's a WordCamp close to you, make sure you go to it. You'll really enjoy it. Great people.
Absolutely.
And it gets your mind thinking, but it's the quality of people and it's the social environment, like on Saturday or afterward. That's so much fun.
It is. I always feel very enriched after going, and I'm so thankful for all the relationships I've built while being at the WordCamp, whether you're an attendee or a speaker or, a new time. It's amazing experience.
But warning, it is hard to get a ticket often.
Yes, you gotta buy early.
Yep, and they're inexpensive, usually about $40 max, and so it's a wonderful event. Well, I mean, it's all sponsors pay for the most of the cost of it. So that said, let's go on to your life and success principles. Now, I've narrowed them down a little bit further than you had them, so you're going to expand on the 3. So the first one is do the right thing. What's that mean to you?
Do not what's just good for you. Do what's good for those around you. If you're going to be designing websites or doing SEO consulting, make sure that whatever you're producing and whatever you or your agency is doing is good for your customer and it's good for the industry. Because if it's not, everything starts to fall apart.
I want to expand on that in the free market system. We have a political show and we talk about politics and marketing often, but what you said is really true, but if you also doing the right thing is actually making a profit so you can stay in business and help people even more. So I always want to add that to it. So don't feel guilty about charging people because you have to charge a certain amount to survive and grow and get your
doing the
back.
right thing isn't giving things away for free. It's producing a good quality product that provides benefit to your customer.
Maybe we'll have Seth Godin on one of these days and ask him, what's doing the right thing? Because you always talked about, the give economy. So anyway, that's a side note. So number 2 is focus on what you are good at.
Yes. Yeah. So when I first started out, I was hacking themes, right? And I quickly realized that was not my level of expertise, and that's not what I was good at. I was good at SEO and, creating a good user experience and, working with clients. So the quicker I was at hiring out what I wasn't good at, the better the company became. Right. And the more successful we were and the more, the better experience we had for our ultimate customer. And I think that that's where a lot of people struggle. They hesitate on that. You can't be good at all things. You need to focus on what your superpowers are.
So for a timeline listener, they probably don't understand what hacking at themes is. So could you explain that?
So hacking a theme means it's, taking a website template and going in and modifying the code to do what you want. And when I say hacking, it means I did not know what I was doing. And I was reading things on the internet and trying to apply that when I shouldn't have been in there at all. I needed to hire a professional programmer to do those tasks that I wanted. And I will tell you that once I started doing that, everything just went up because that was the right thing to do for both me and my client. They deserve quality code.
You'll understand this. I've been in WordPress a little over 2 years, HTML before that, and I'm at the hack stage right now. So I think you need to learn to hack and screw stuff up initially so you understand what you need.
Absolutely. I think, it was a great learning experience for me.
Very good. And finally, decisions based on data, which is important.
Yeah. Whether it's SEO or like it's the theme store that we have, the more decisions you can base on data and not just on emotion, the more successful you are. Classic example, my husband had yesterday off because of Easter. He spent the entire day going through the company's data so he could provide me reports so I could make decisions on what we were doing in 2016. Right. That's invaluable to me as a business owner. Because it helps me make good decisions. And the more I do that, the more successful the company becomes.
When you look at data, what type of data are you looking at specifically?
I look at revenue streams. I look at costs, support costs, the cost to build, the return on investment, payback, search volumes in Google, feedback from clients. There's a whole slew of competition, a whole slew of things that I look at, but it helps us make better decisions and it keeps us profitable.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned was the finance. Everyone should look at finance this time of year. We have our taxes and see where you can save, because by saving, you actually make money. It's hard. Very good. So with that, that's the life and success principles. That's the timeline element. And what the feedback we're getting from timeline folks is they really enjoy the WP-Tonic, and it opens up their ideas and thoughts to other things and to learn more about WordPress. So it's been very successful. I wish we'd put this on a lot earlier on on Timelines. So thanks, Jonathan. With that, let's go to a break and we'll finish up with how the listener can help you, how the listener can find you, and then one last question from both of us. How's that, Jonathan?
Sounds good, Bill.
Okay, coming off a break, Jonathan and Rebecca, the listener wants to know, how can they find you?
So I'm on Twitter at Rebecca Gill is my handle. Our course has its own website. It's DIYSEOcourses.com. And then our website and all of our properties associated with the website, you can just Google Web Savvy Marketing and you'll see all of our social media and the core website.
Oh, very, very good. And then finally, what can the listener do for you?
I would love feedback on your SEO challenges, whatever they might be. I would love that because then I can use that and add that into the course to provide even more value for people.
So if they send you an email or fill out a form, you'll get back with them on their question?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Jonathan, one last question. Got a question?
So, Rebecca, when it comes to WordPress website, what is the one area that somebody could look at and sort out the quickest, which will get them the biggest initial benefit when it comes to SEO?
Wow.
That was a big question, wasn't it, Rebecca?
You know what? Here's a great one. If you have Google Search Console, go in there, find the site keywords, which is an area within there. It's just a short list that will show you the most frequent words that Google sees on your website. Those should be keyword focused. In most cases, and when I say most, it's like 80% of the time that I look, it is your company name, your personal name, your product name, your service name, and it has nothing to do with your visitor. Do that because that is a wake-up call because it'll show you that you talk way too much about yourself and not enough about your visitor and how you can help them. And that's both usability and SEO because it applies to both.
Right.
That's some really good advice. For my last question, since you're up in Michigan, right, in the bunker,
Yep.
Where's a good place to eat in Michigan? What's your favorite food up there? What do they eat in Michigan? Fish out of the lake?
You know what we have? Here's what we have. We have what is called Coney Islands. And don't go to the Coney Island in Vegas because they've got the D Hotel and it doesn't have a real Coney Island. But if you're in Michigan, you need to go to a Coney Island and get a real Coney dog and a real Greek salad and some cheesy fries and it's in the Detroit area and the suburbs. I didn't know what they were until I came down after college and I fell in love with them and I still love them today. So that's a Michigan experience that you can't pass up.
Also for the listener, go ahead and stay on around 27 minutes on YouTube. It'll probably be unedited. And we'll pick up and talk a couple more issues in more detail. And I've got some on SEO too I want to discuss. Jonathan?
Sounds good to me, Bill.
Thanks, Rebecca. And it's interesting. And we'll work out these joint shows of both Timelines and WP-Tonic, but they do well. They do well. They help each other, actually. People go back and forth from both sides.
Excellent.
Well, thanks, Rebecca.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Rebecca.
We have to do this pause. We really didn't give Rebecca a brief how we pause and stuff. I use a little clock and timer. And unfortunately, it takes too long to really edit. I edit part of it. What we're doing here is the YouTube version. But if it's raw, people like the raw version too, like we're talking offline. But the podcast will come out very nice. It'll come out smooth, 25 minutes, and it'll work. I want to drive. I'm going to be number one in that WP-Tonic in the WordPress category.
So the success is cheesy fries, is it, Rebecca?
It is. I love cheesy fries. So do my kids.
What Coney Island? Is Coney Island in New York?
Probably, yeah. I didn't even know about them until I came down and I was like, "What's this? Where are we going? This cheap place?" And I go in and it is really cheap, but it's good.
I was thinking that name of that park in Chicago where they have the Ferris wheel and all that stuff out there.
Yeah, it probably is. And when we were in Las Vegas, I was all excited to show Carrie Dills go get a Coney. And we walk in there, I look at their menu, I go, "This is not a Coney Island." They say it's Detroit Coney, but it is not. No. We walk back out.
Rebecca, I'm fascinated to ask you a couple of questions about your early years, the early years. It's like it's like a pop band, isn't it? The early years. you said that, you were a bit fed up with your 9 to 5 job. You decided it was time to leave,
Yeah.
and you got in. So, not to be funny, Rebecca, there's a lot of SEO companies. There's a lot of web design, digital agencies. Reflecting back, what was some of the key things that made you stand out from the competition that you instinctively did right that helped you grow the business? Or was it also the area that you were living and trying to establish your business, or was it
Oh,
not based
no.
regionally at all?
No, not regionally. It was in the middle of the recession, and automotive in Detroit was hit really, really hard. There were no clients here whatsoever. That's why there were no jobs. So I had no clients in Michigan, I don't think, for the first year and a half. I lived off of people who knew me from my old industry. And that's how I grew up, because they saw me compete against really large companies like Microsoft and Oracle and SAP, and they knew my company I had worked for. I had on page one, and I was outsmarting their big marketing departments. So, once I left, people were coming to me and going, "Hey, you're independent. Can you help us? Can you work with us?" So that was part of it. I think the other part was, which set me apart from other companies that just did SEO, was a lot of times they want to put you on a monthly retainer and they want to do the work for you and tell you not to worry your pretty little head about what they're doing. That's not my approach. My approach is to educate you on doing the right thing and helping you get started and build a good foundation with you, and allow you to do as much as you want yourself. Right? Because you know your industry, you know your product or service more than anybody else. So you can be the most successful with SEO as long as you've got the right tools and the right education. And that is something that has always separated us, because while I will do things for people, it is not my first choice. My first choice is to educate you so that you are empowered to do it yourself. That's why I love
No,
WordPress, because WordPress empowers you.
so that's fantastic. So, what led you down into the WordPress theme shop direction? Because obviously you had the SEO,
Yeah.
you, and then you decide, which is a big undertaking for any agency. A lot have failed, but you have succeeded in your niche area. What was the spark? What gave you the interest and the drive to go down that route?
I honestly had no drive, but Chris Cree, who has worked with for Web Savvy for, I think, 6 years, it was his idea. And the first two times he brought it up to me, I was like, no, we're not doing that. And then, I mean, I like
You say
flat
that
out,
quite regularly to me, Rebecca.
we're not doing it. But he was a good work husband, and he just went quiet and he waited, and he just brought it up again in a month. And then he brought it up and again a month, and he let me stew on it. And then, once I stewed it, I thought, you know what? We could make some good themes. We could do some good work for people. And then and that's how it got started. So it was really totally his idea. And, yesterday when my husband was doing all the analysis, and I saw over the years how much we had made through the theme store, just from theme store sales and not affiliate revenue or services, that are add on to that, I was amazed at how much revenue it brought in, and which gave me that encouragement to even push more development to it. So we'll be launching a number of new stock themes this year, because I see the value and I see that I need to give more attention to that baby.
Right. Hey, Jonathan, I got a cool question. You just put your SEO course together. What are some of the mechanics you use? I've been doing a lot of deep dives, interviewing a lot of folks who have.
So I use LearnDash and
Mhm.
WooCommerce. And the reason I selected LearnDash was because Justin, the developer, is local to me, and he had asked me originally to look at it. And Justin's comes from a Fortune 500 training, background. So he was very knowledgeable about training, not just code. Once I looked at it, I was like, this is awesome. Right. And so we built out some themes for it. We built some custom websites for it. And I realized, you know what? I know this. I can create a course in this. And it was really effortless for me to do it and my team, because we had worked with it, and it's just a really solid product. It was a great platform for building out the course.
It's the plugin, right? The plugin. It's
Yes.
plugin, yeah.
Yes.
I like plugins. I don't like to go with SaaSes.
Yeah, no, it's a plugin that has connections right into WooCommerce, which we were already using for the store. So it was just a really great fit.
I think Kim Sheavely talks a lot about LearnDash. Doesn't she use LearnDash, Jonathan?
I think so, yeah. And WP Courseware, is it? I think that's the other one. But there's been an explosion of activity in that particular area, hasn't there, Rebecca?
There absolutely has. Well, and it's a great next step for the, for the web and, to provide that virtual learning experience. And I love the fact that people have low cost tools like, LearnDash and all the other MLS plugins to be able to, share their knowledge with the world.
Yeah, it's the 10 license package is pretty reasonable too. It's really reasonable. And it's probably more established. It's been around for a while too. LearnDash, the plugin. We're talking about a plugin now, which is nice. On a WordPress show. So what do you think? What are your challenges with the plugin itself, or LearnDash? It looks good.
Yeah, there's been a few things that I'd like to create add-on plugins for, just free ones that just would make it more usable in the back end. But they're just so minor, right? We really didn't have challenges. But again, my team has worked with it, right? So I can say to my one developer, go make this look like our theme and pretty it up, and he can just do it because he's done it a number of times. And that's because we have Derek and Fernando in our store that we sell, and those are both themes and Caroline, they all utilize LearnDash, so we've got a lot of experience with it.
I think in retrospect, early on, I might have gone with LearnDash exclusively. It took me a while to really work where I wanted to work. I'm looking with Lifter right now. Another thing too, if you don't mind, since we WordPress folks, we probably should hit this really briefly when we do WP-Tonic, Jonathan, really fast. Just ask like 3 basic quick questions, because everyone always wants to know, what host provider do you like? What's your favorite host provider? Things like that for everybody.
Don't think Rebecca.
That's a good one.
I think are you going to go? All right, go on, Rebecca. Which ones do you recommend?
So all of our web properties are on WP Engine. I also love Liquid Web. They have a response time for technical support of like 58 seconds or something, which is amazing. I think the SiteGround team is also just stellar. So when someone asks us, who should we go with for hosting, those are the 3. We tell them WP Engine, Liquid Web, or SiteGround.
Now I have WP-Tonic, not WP-Tonic. I had Bluehost. I actually started with Bluehost. Don't ask me why I started with Bluehost. Well, and don't ask me why I bought 3 years worth of host provider service later on, but I use that as the giveaway. I help nonprofits and people and build a lot of stuff and play around with Bluehost.
And you know what? It's probably great for nonprofits, but when you're like us and you've got 50 websites sitting on a dedicated server, you kind of need, something beefy.
And I hook Cloudflare into it. But SiteGround, for what I paid in SiteGround, I'm really impressed with SiteGround. And then I've got one DigitalOcean.
Our Bulgarian friends.
They're actually pretty darn good. SiteGround.
Yeah, I recommend it. I told you to go there, did I?
I wish it was like one day difference. Bluehost, before I bought that extra, I don't know why I bought, it was on Black Friday and I bought a bunch of hosting time in Bluehost. But Bluehost has been down so much lately too.
I've become a DigitalOcean fanboy, Rebecca. WP-Tonic is run on DigitalOcean, and if the clients wants us, we set it up and we manage it for them.
We've never used them before.
Have you had any of those break yet? Jonathan, I've got one site, but have you had any of those break at all, or any problems with it? I don't think it's really nice because it doesn't get attacked like everyone else.
It does. It's just that if you read their internal technical, I did play around with Linux quite a bit, and I'm not a Linux administrator. I've got somebody on a retainer that's experienced Linux administrator that I can call upon. But when you read their technical, the way that their actual system has been designed, it's a bit like your SEO argument, Rebecca. They designed their platform from the ground up with a high level of security embedded in their system. And compared to quite a few hosting companies, it's actually more secure.
It's all VPS, isn't it? And it's
it's VPS.
It's SSD and VPS.
Yeah. That's what it does. They're aimed at the developer market, but it's great value. The main thing is that they do offer good email support, but like I say, I've got a Linux administrator on a retainer. So if we do get a fundamental problem, we can deal with it in-house. And it's just part of the added, I use it as a differential to my other service, Rebecca.
I think, though, the listener wants to just know what you use just to compare them, because that's one of the, I think on the WP side it's common. But down on the newbies, like on the timeline people, almost everyone, half the people in there are asking about, well, how do I get a website up and running? Things of that nature, which is kind of interesting.
It's a bit overwhelming to people who are not technical in nature because there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is. But I think, I don't know if you agree with this, Rebecca, having a really nice website and having dirt, slow on the SEO side and on the usability, it's just a killer to have really slow hosting that really kind of semi-destroys a good website.
It is. My husband had a hunting website at one point, and it was on really low end hosting with a stock theme that was really bloated. And no matter what we did from an SEO standpoint and a content standpoint, we could not get him to rank. And as soon as we moved hosting and switched themes, it changed everything.
Yeah.
And it was because the performance was so bad. I mean, it took forever to load. And if you think about what is Google's priority? Google's priority is to create a positive experience for its users, right? Sending a user from a search over to a website that loads extremely slow is not a positive experience. So they are not going to reward that with ranking that website in search. It just won't happen.
You use Genesis, don't you, for all your frameworks?
I do. Yes. Yep. We've used it since it came out, since the framework. I mean, I baited the Genesis before it was actually a framework. I baited it when it was a theme.
It seems like a really good value.
It is. It's a good value. They stay up to date with things like HTML5 and responsive and accessibility. So, they take that heavy lifting off of me as an agency and allow me to focus on the design and the usability for the client specifically.
I set up a Genesis, quick question. I set up a Genesis site without a child theme and then put a plugin in it. And actually, it seemed to work.
It will work, but you can't do a lot with.
No, it was just for a course. Yeah. I just put a course. I didn't do much with the look at all. I just wanted to see how it run with a plugin with a course.
Yep.
Yeah, it functioned like a theme.
Yep.
So I just wanted to see what it would do with that core, limited plugins in the course, just playing with it. See, could you, like on my course, since I'm leading people to a course, I want to really keep it simple and sort of like a landing page course with just a couple tabs. And
no, well, there are some very basic child themes that you can put onto the parent framework build, but I would always put a child theme on top of Genesis.
I only did it once. I mean, in my 30 Genesis sites.
Yeah, well, you've been a little bit naughty, but we let you.
Is there really a need to put a child theme on top of it, though?
Yes.
If you're just running one or two basic plugins and maybe.
If you want to have a visual design to it, because Genesis is pretty generic. But if generic's fine, then no, you're fine.
So it is. Gosh, I can't even think of the name of it. My course. It's Blab School or something. School of
Blabbers.
No.
That would have been a good title.
It's a test. No, I'm not using it because I'm writing a course right now. Just called. I didn't want to use the word blab in it, but I'm actually talking about blab as a way to get going in social media and this new media for the average person in YouTube. It's so easy. But if you want to go to that next step, you got to get out of blab. You got to do it.
So I want to ask you, Rebecca. So you've done SEO consultancy, you've done website building, you've established and run a successful theme shop. So you haven't entered the plugin area. Is it something that you've looked at, and is there any specific reasons why you haven't entered that sector of the WordPress industry, the plugin side?
There are actually a few plugin ideas that I've had, and one would be a major plugin, but I don't have the resources internally to execute it. Everybody's busy with custom development, in the theme store, and we just don't have the time. Right? I've got expertise that could execute it, but we don't have the time. So, the one plugin idea that I have that is a big one, I have brought it to another developer to say, here's what I'd like to do. Here's my idea. They're investigating it, actually at the moment, because I'd love to develop plugins. I'm very proponent of usability, and I'm very systematic, right? And optimizing a process. So there's a lot of ideas I have that could help with just everyday management of websites, but I would need someone to help build those out because we just don't have the staff to do it.
I wasn't so surprised, but I'm trying to find the right words again, Rebecca. I just want I was surprised that the crew at Optin Monster decided to go into the form market with WP Form because they're against some really stiff competition,
yep.
And the pricing structure. All their products, I do use Optin Monster myself, and I've been happy with it. you know, but none of their products are particularly cheap, and I'm not criticizing them for that, because they're all normally good products and they offer good quality support. So the pricing of WP Form is reasonably expensive, even at a one site license level. Was you surprised that they're entering that market, or do you think there was still a lot of oxygen for a quality product in that particular sector?
I was surprised because there's such good products already in the market, and they're definitely not first to market. If they can differentiate themselves, great. You know, we've been using Gravity Forms for, gosh, probably 6 years. You know, I purchased a license shortly after founding the business, and we've used it ever since. I can't imagine using anything else. So, you know, I'm not veering off because I think Carl creates a great product. I think he's a very smart man, and you know, he's done a great job, and I'm going to continue to support him. But that doesn't mean that, you know, Syed and you know, the rest of them, you know, developing this new plugin doesn't have a good product. It just means I tend to stay loyal with, you know, the people
Oh
that
yeah,
I've purchased from.
I totally agree with your sentiments. I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that WP Form, because you know Griffith, the chief technical officer, I've had him. We've interviewed him, and he's a great developer and a really nice guy.
He is a wonderful person.
Very knowledgeable. So I've got no, when it comes to the quality of product, I was making any comment. I'm sure it's a top-notch
Yes.
product.
Yeah.
I was just surprised that they chose that sector, because, like I say, they're up against some really hardcore, well-established products, aren't
Yep.
they?
Absolutely.
So, are there? You know, I'm not going to ask you about your major fault, your one plugin, but in general. Are there any particular areas of the plugin that you think there is opportunities?
I think that there's lots of opportunities for add-ons, right? Small add-ons for
Yeah.
like Yoast and all-in-one SEO, and you know, the LMS plugins like LearnDash. I think there's a significant amount of marketplace and, you know, functional need, right, for those. I mean, if you look at WooCommerce and how many extensions they offer, there's a ton, and that's because there's a lot of things that you can do with it. And I think, you know, plugins like LearnDash and you know, and Yoast and all-in-one SEO, they have that option as well. So that's where I always see the need, right? Because those are the things that I use. And I think, oh, wouldn't it be great if I could just do X, Y, Z? Life would be easier for me if I could do this. So that's where I see a lot of growth options. You know, whether it's premiums at a small price or they're free. I just think that there's a lot that can be still developed in those areas.
Yeah. What about one area I did? It was invoicing basically, Rebecca, because I was using Harvest as my and I wanted to use a WordPress solution, and I had a bit of a job finding something, and I found the guy Sprout. He does a range of invoicing software for WordPress, and I've installed it, and there's been a little bit of plugin conflict with some of his plugins and some of the others I've had, which I've had to sort out. But I think but do you think, but the invoicing seems attractive, but the only thing, there's a lot of external competition outside of WordPress, isn't it? So maybe that's too hot as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and you know, I think that you don't need to have WordPress do everything. Like I tried to have it manage contract signing for clients, and the plugin I used was just so cumbersome from both just usage and updates and everything. I finally just pulled it out. It's like, you know what? This is just not worth it. I'm forcing something into WordPress that doesn't necessarily need to be there. I can use a third-party SaaS product and do just as quality a job for probably a lot cheaper, and then I don't have to worry about all the maintenance for it.
What do you use for signing your contracts?
I don't use anything right now. Because I just yanked it out. I still need to locate something and do it. You know, we don't do a ton of contracts because we do a lot through FreshBooks, right?
Yeah, you have FreshBooks. Yeah,
we have FreshBooks. So the only time we're doing contracts are for major major projects,
How
right?
hard,
And
how hard was FreshBooks? 'Cause I'm in QuickBooks right now, and I might go back and change over for this year. We've been in QuickBooks for 20 years.
FreshBooks it's great to start up, but I always find limitations. And I think that's more because my background, my old job was in ERP software, which, is enterprise level business software. And I used to train on it, right? I would sell it, but I'd also train and write documentation. So I knew it inside out. So I always want all that. So any type of billing system you're going to give me that's basic and for an entry level user, it always lacks for me, because I
Right.
remember the days of all these, modules and 1,000 screens I could go through, and it's like, but I want it to do this. But but that goes against their target market. So I think I've outgrown it. I really need to find a replacement for it. Which is reasonable. The company's been in business for 7 years.
Yeah.
I'm bound to outgrow FreshBooks, at that point.
QuickBooks is stuck between a program and SaaS.
Okay.
I don't know. I've used QuickBooks in a while. It's just painful now.
Yeah.
I
I used
loaded
to-
it when it's 7 years ago, and I was like, I don't want to do this. My degree's in accounting, but I hate accounting. I don't want to do this.
I had an
And
Exchange server
got
with
it.
2 licenses, and it worked wonderful years ago. I mean, it was wonderful. Everything worked. And we had a full-time assistant accountant for the
Yeah.
3 companies. But it worked real well. But now it just sucks. It's just too much maintenance.
Sucks. It's like,
So I think a good way to finish up the show.
yeah.
You
I
should
was
come-
just going to say I was using FreshBooks, and I went to Harvest, and I probably will go. This, like what you said, which you was spot on, Rebecca. I just wanted to see if there was a solution, but I think I'll be going back to Harvest. I don't think. I'm not sure Harvest would be a big enough jump, but actually I found their program to be better than FreshBooks, actually.
I should look at it.
Yeah, and their support and the stability of the program was pretty spot on. For your actual document, if I can find the link, I'm not sure we did the interview. I might have done some research. There's a company based in Australia that's got done inroads in the real estate industry, and they're the biggest document signing company in Australia, but they're not well known in America so much. If I find it, I'll send you the link.
Okay.
But they've got a very mature product. It was very impressive.
Hey, with that, Rebecca, if you get a chance, come back in on Saturday at 9 o'clock Pacific. We'll do a blab.
But 10, aren't we?
No, we'll do it 9, because I remember I was looking at maybe doing a Skype and then going into, but we don't have a need for Skype. So I'm really want to try something the next 3 or 4 weeks. I'm so busy right now. So I'm going to actually cut down the daily show. I've been experimenting with some tests, and we've got really good numbers in the politics, but I tried to put we are editing and putting a fresh show up every day. Like if we did the show today, recorded it. I was recording at 4 o'clock, and then after dinner in the evening, editing and putting up that night. And I actually outran some of my the people who were on our show who weren't really promoting it or getting it out, even though they had all the information that night. They just were not cognizant that it was up that fast. But it actually works. I like it because it's fresh. You get through stuff, but it's still a lot of commitment, a lot of work every night to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we tried it. I think the experiment's over. So I'm going to start stacking some, Jonathan. I've got 12 interviews. For example, WP-Tonic will always go up Saturday night. No matter what.
Rebecca,
but Jonathan, we record it Saturday, but this is kind of nice. We recorded this early. We don't have to necessarily record on Saturday if we don't need to.
One final question, Rebecca. Got anybody that you think would be a great guest for WP-Tonic?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I would tell you, here's a very hidden person in our community. He's socially visual, but he doesn't get on podcasts as much, but he's wonderful. And he always likes to get on podcasts, right? Is Kareem from Crowd Favorite. He has a world of knowledge. He is a wonderful speaker. He is a wonderful to give interviews to, because the thing I like about him is he has experience inside WordPress and outside WordPress, right? With growing organizations, mergers and acquisitions, client management, contracts, proposals. He has all this knowledge, but he rarely does podcasts because people don't ask him. Go ask him.
Yeah.
He'll be happy to do it. And
I'll say, blame it on Rebecca, Carrie. She said you'd be a great guest. So, all right, I will go hunting, Rebecca. Well, it's been a fantastic discussion, Rebecca. You're always great fun.
Oh, thank you.
It gets you away from the bunker a little time, doesn't it, Rebecca? You see the sunshine.
It gets me out of keyword research, which is nice.
Yes, all right. I'll be getting into my console this afternoon, Rebecca.
Yes, and look at your words to see your content keywords to see what you're talking about.
And I've been avoiding
Hey,
my quizzes in your program, so I've got to do my homework.
They're not that hard.
Hey,
I
hey,
try
Jo-
to make them so it just reinforces the concepts and not give you, not discourage the users.
Jonathan, and as long as we're on SEO, for one last question, one last thought. Have you ever looked at iTunes SEO, how they do SEO? We're trying to figure it out. We've been doing this for a long time. And I know.
I told you how they do it, Ben, and told you, Bob. It's some little intern in the Apple Office, Bill.
In the big world of a gazillion.
That's what he just decides each day which iTunes.
I hope he doesn't listen, and he's not listening to this because he wanted. There's the I'm going over the page right now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 120, 130 we're competing against, and we're number 4 today. The most we've ever been is number 2, but we're number 4 today. So I was curious.
Well, we're the most fun, aren't we, Rebecca? Are we more fun? Are we more fun than the water cooler?
The Matt report is 10 today.
No, there's people in the water cooler that I just think are hysterical. I have to say is hysterical. I think she is a hoot. Yes. You're funny. She is. She always makes me want to cry to my eyes water.
The water cooler. I'm trying to think. What's the? I should know what.
I'm not going to go down that route. I'm so tempted to go there. Some quick English remark about that, Rebecca. But I'm going to moderate my.
All right, you be good then.
Thanks, Rebecca. I'm going to stop the recording right now, so we'll stop recording.